Duel, known as a TV film from 1971 by Steven Spielberg. People don't necessarily consider it his first feature film. I do. They favour The Sugarland Express, which was, not for television, it was for cinema. But that is a film that I don't really understand. It's not my kind of thing. Duel really struck numerous chords in me and has done until this date. So Duel, I think, is his first film. I certainly consider it that. His first real attempt into the feature length after a few television episodes of various kinds. And I really think he was challenged in numerous ways, and he lived up to basically everything that he promised to deliver. The film is about a chase between a travelling salesman and, soon enough, a truck who, out of the blue, comes out, pursues him, chases him, and doesn't let him go. Has no intention to set him free. The film stars actor Dennis Weaver, who had been a film noir star, featuring in Touch of Evil amongst other films, and he really does show a varied range of moods and character swings and character arches. I think his performance is impeccable. He's able to give us a bit of humour and arrogance at the beginning. He's able to give us impatience and then worry, fear, panic, anger, terror and relief, all in the span of about 80 minutes. For any actor that could be a challenge, and I think he pulled off everything incredibly impressively. The really good elements of the film are almost countless. From the performance that I've just mentioned, which is completely believable, and thankfully he wasn't a very famous face, certainly not at the time. I mean, he'd been in some notable films, but he wasn't necessarily a leading man until Duel. So it's easy to fall into the character in a very transparent way, in a very judgmentless way. The film technically is outstanding. It being a TV film, maybe they had a lower budget, and I'm sure they had a tighter schedule, but what a young, in his early 20s, Steven Spielberg was able to put together within his limitations might have been his greatest advantages. He was given a very good cinematographer who really, as a collaboration, pushed the limits of what they could achieve technically to greater length than I had ever seen before, certainly from films from the 60s and 50s and even 70s. The 70s are my favourite decade in film, and I haven't quite seen anything that comes together like Duel in that technical way. They put together rigs to fit cameras in very strange, unusual positions. They were able to capture angles that were very suspenseful and rather shocking. I think what they did technically was better than some of the Bond films. The soundscape is incredibly unique and incredibly special. They didn't go for the typical score. They went for an instrumental piece where you hear rattles and tattles and drum rolls and strings, and you really feel the texture of the music. You really feel the music accompanying every scene, every piece of suspense and every reaction from Dennis Weaver. It couldn't have been more original. It might have been daring for the 70s. Anything was daring in the 70s, especially when he came up to a young director in his early 20s. But I feel the choices that were made in exactly the right way for the era and for the talent involved. It really is something special. You really feel that they might have had some technical issues and some logistical issues, but the editing really worked around all of those issues. And I do know of one story that Steven shared, which is about the editor having found a bit of additional footage that he didn't know how to use or he wasn't instructed to use, and he put together a little sequence. I wouldn't be able to tell that scene was compiled together from clips that were either unusable or not given a specific slot in the story, and yet it comes together very nicely, very suspensefully, and overall it's just a good fun ride, a clean fun ride where everything works very nicely. Even though it's a feature-length debut, I really find that Duel is particularly hard to fault. I think everything comes together in such a wonderful way, such an engaging way, in basically all aspects. I think that ultimately the film, the story is about the car, it's about the Dennis Weaver character, but you always have to understand a villain in order to be afraid by them. You need to understand a villain in order to have them affect you in some way. And although we have this presence, this unknown presence, which is very menacing, very threatening, the fact that we know very little about the truck and the truck driver is both an advantage and I think a disadvantage. I really like feature film debuts. I like any kind of debut from directors. I find that when they have less money, less time, they have more creativity. Overall, I give the film 8 out of 10. Really, I think it's a strong debut, potentially Steven Spielberg's finest work. A little bit of me hopes that maybe there can be more of similar.